Hello, everybody. I've got this interesting fellow for this podcast. I started talking to him, John, a couple of days ago, and I've been telling everybody about this and just what you've been able to create. This is Jon Margalit, jonmargalit.com, Rags to Riches University. He's going to share like his story of how he got into like a boring business, so to speak, as he explains it to me, and how he's been able to build this and how he's leveraged what he's built to help others do the same, which was the part, that last part was what intrigued me the most. So John, tell me about how you got into starting your business, your cleaning business, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I always wanted to have my own business. I hate the thought of working for someone else or even more so relying on someone else for a paycheck. Yeah. So I had this entrepreneurial spirit brewing ever since I was a little kid. And I tried a lot of different things. I tried a lot of different sexy businesses, tech startup type of things. I built an app and went to China and had some products made that I invented. And most of the time I had a little bit of success for a short period of time, and then it would seem to fizzle out, even if I had raised money and done other things. And then I decided to go work somewhere for 5 years, and I was head of sales for a tech company, and we got acquired. And I learned a lot of things about running a company the right way. And so when we got acquired, I decided to leave, and a few other people as well. And so I was trying to decide what to do. I went and was doing some job interviews and things like that. But I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to go at this again and try my hand in entrepreneurship. Yeah. And I was really just scouring the web, reading blogs like, best business to start from home and all these different things. And house cleaning kept coming up in the top 3. And I'm talking about 20 plus blogs I was reading. It interested me, but I knew that I didn't want to clean houses. So I sort of just kept skipping over it. And eventually I said to myself, you know what, maybe this time I'll just pick something that's super simple and something that has overwhelming demand and that a lot of people need and want, and I'm going to try my hand at it. So I approached the business from a marketing and customer acquisition standpoint. Right. And before I even went and hired cleaners, all I focused on was, how can I build a machine that consistently gets customers? And so that's all I did. I focused on that. And before I knew it, I realized that if you can create incredible demand for a service, especially one that doesn't take any trade skills to fulfill, you'll get a long line of people that are clamoring for the work to be able to do that, to make $20 or more per hour. And so that's what I did. So I started a cleaning business, and before I knew it, we were doing 6 figures a month, and I had 50 people on my team. And then I started to grow in other ways. I have offshore on the island of St. Lucia. I have a call center there with about 10 people that do all the sales and customer service. And we're about 4 years in now. We're a multi-million-dollar business, and I don't have to do much at all during the day for the business. I usually spend about 30 to 45 minutes a day just checking the KPIs, making sure everything's healthy, and it's been an incredible run. And people started calling this model remote cleaning. So that's what it is. It's a remote cleaning business because I can run it entirely from my phone and laptop, completely remotely. And when we were talking at first, I was joking around, but ever since I had a home when I was younger and I had an apartment, I used to clean it sometimes, but I don't think I've ever actually cleaned an entire home. And here I am with one of the largest residential cleaning businesses in Nevada.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, do you actually do the sales from St. Lucia? You mentioned that. I mean, I would think you would kind of come into the customer's home and someone there would do the sales.
That's a great question. The problem with driving around and giving quotes, and this was a really big challenge in the beginning, was that I figured if I was doing that, I would just be driving around all day. And if you're constantly doing that, then you're not at the command center, your desk. And how are you actually going to get anything done and execute on things, right? And so I developed this. It was a lot of trial and error for the first 3 months. But what happened was, since I focused so much on demand and customer acquisition, I had so many homes to clean where I said to myself, I know we're going to mess up a bunch of houses and I'm going to misquote a lot of things, but I'm going to eat it for, as long as it takes fast just to get through it and learn. Right. And that's what I did. In the first 2 months, I was still able to turn a profit, but I misquoted a ton of things. And then I learned essentially how to do it very simply, depending on how big the home was and what type of cleaning it was. If it was a move out clean or a standard clean, we have different types of cleanings. Yeah. I started to understand how many people it would take and for how long. And then I just simply calculated what I was going to pay the cleaners to perform the service. and then I
Right.
would multiply by 2.5 or 3, and that would be the price. And I've done that ever since, and it's worked out fantastic.
Great. Now, I would think, I still can't get over that you could do that so remotely. And because I would think like you'd walk into a home and you go, well, this would be easy. Or you walk into a home and go, wow, I'd have to get a
Yeah.
bulldozer to clean this thing.
It happens. So we have a process for it. There's a protocol for that. It's called longer than expected. And so the rule is that if the cleaner or cleaners arrive and they get there and they're like, holy smokes, how does anybody live like this? It looks like a tornado blew this place up.
Yep.
They have to report it in immediately. We have a Slack channel for it. And the cleaners Slack in immediately and let the girls in St. Lucia know. The support team, they call the customer right away and say, in order to complete this service, your home is going to require a little bit more love than we had expected. We can't tell them their house is, really dirty because they'll feel judged. And so we approach it very softly, and then we just tell them how much extra it would cost to complete it. And most of the time we have no problem. And if they don't want to pay, we offer to stay as long as we can within a certain time frame.
Right. Or maybe it starts a little higher, and as the order starts going into the house, maybe the hour count goes down a little bit, maybe even something like that,
Yeah. And honestly, this is the questions that you're asking are perfect questions, because this is the typical guy starts a business, doesn't know what the hell he's doing, never done it before, but just learning as you go, right? And so I think that the number one key and takeaway here is that everybody starts at the same place with not knowing what they're doing until they go do it and get experience. And so there's nothing to be afraid of. You just go, and if you mess up, then so what? And if you break even or lose a little money, then so what? And if you set expectation wrong, you apologize to the customer and you keep going. But this is every business. Anybody that wants to start a business, like if you don't have that mentality, you won't make it.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, with this model that you've created, you don't really have to be in the Vegas area to do this. You could set up other locations possibly, right?
Absolutely. I could. I think that it's advantageous to stay as close as you can, only because later I learned how to build strategic partnerships with complementary non-competitors, as I call them. So other businesses that serve the same target market, but not with cleaning. So it could be property managers, real estate brokers and agents, handymen, lawn care people, pool people. It's sort of all in that same realm. And so
a referral network of sorts.
Exactly. And all of those people that I just mentioned, those types of people, they get asked about if they have a cleaning service that they recommend all the time. So if you want to lower the cost of acquisition, it's always good to get lead sources that are free.
Good. Those lead sources that are free, those were ones that you personally had to establish, or did you have someone who works the field, so to speak, in the Vegas area?
Well, I just had the team in St. Lucia scrape the web for property managers, real estate brokers, and then call and offer to attend. Most of them have team meetings. Some of them are on Zoom. Some of them are in person. And I would show up with donuts and, take 10 minutes to do my spiel and leave flyers or cards. And I built quite a network here in Vegas of all the types of businesses I just mentioned. And the phone rings quite a bit. And this is just from referrals. But I think that that's like phase 2. If you want to build something totally scalable and sellable that has enterprise value, you have to demonstrate that you can scale with advertising and scale profitably. That's the key.
Right. That is key. So you start with advertising, and then you get some wins on that. Confidence goes up. Then you've got something to go market in your community on all these different connections and things like that. Good. And so when did you start your company?
This was in 2000. This is 2021. So at the end of 2020, actually. Yeah, it's going. It's for almost 4.5 years.
You hire your cleaners from the people in St. Lucia help you hire the cleaners, and then of course you vet them, right? But then how do you make sure that their standard of cleaning is where you want it to be?
Well, nobody flies solo at first. So the interview is a real cleaning. We just do it on an empty house that no one's living in. So typically we'll reserve the interview sessions for move-in or move-out cleans. And then that way we can observe people without the customer being there. And they have to come clean for a couple hours. We evaluate them. They have to be efficient, and they have to know how to clean. And if they do those things well, then for the first 2 weeks, they can clean with other senior people that have been here for a while. But in the beginning, until they develop trust, and once we trust them, we send them out alone. But in the beginning, I just had to take a little bit of a leap of faith with the first few, because there was nobody to observe and what's the word I'm looking for? I guess chaperone them.
Chaperone, supervise, quality control.
Supervised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
like when we start with one, and you weren't a cleaner. So how did you get the first cleaner? I've been talking to people, right? So one of my good buddies goes, well, how do you get it started? What's the first cleaner? Well, he had to be cleaning homes. I'm telling you, he didn't clean any homes, right?
Yeah. So what you do is, this is a great question. I'm sure a lot of people want to know. You take a friend or a family member and you basically comp them a clean. You don't tell the cleaner that they're going to your friend's house, but you have the cleaner go to that home, clean, and then your friend or family member will clue you in on if they did a good job, if they were fast, if they had a good presence, if they were professional, and all those things. And that's how you do it. You really can't do it any other way. It's not good to have somebody to come to your home, but it's good to send them to somewhere that you know and somewhere where you can get a very quick and insightful report.
Yeah, I imagine you got some family members with some hands up, like I'll be a volunteer.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Everybody wants to get their homes clean, so you can even pick somebody with a condo or an apartment, so it's on a smaller scale, and then that's what you do. You send them out, and if the report is a great experience, then you can pretty much count on it that you have a winner. But I developed ways to ask questions over the phone that would sort of let me know right away whether somebody knew what they were doing or not. Like a question like, what do you use on a granite countertop? And so if they immediately had like, oh, this is my go-to Einsaw person, whatever they say, that usually right away I can tell. If they hesitate, that means that they probably don't have any experience, because anybody that cleans consistently or for a long time, they know what products they like to use.
That makes a lot of sense. Sure does.
Yeah.
Or
and this was just
yeah, what do you carry this, or do we have that, or I could see that. My cleaners like that. So with this whole creation and what you've done with it, the cleaners, do they work full time? Is it all over the map, or are they mostly full-time cleaners that work for you?
Yeah, well, the key is to have a very deep bench. So I have a mix. Most of them are full-time and some are part-time, and some of them just work weekends. We have some girls that are in nursing school that work on the days off they have from school, and when school's out they work full-time, and then when they go back to school they lessen their hours and their workload. But there's a mix. You have to have a mix of people, and one of the keys is to have people that are on call, because one of the unique differentiators for my business is same-day service. Most cleaning businesses cannot fulfill on that offer.
Wow.
And so there's an incredible amount of people that need cleaning unexpectedly. I hear either, we had a party and we didn't expect it to be this bad. We were going to clean up. To grandma didn't make it to the bathroom in time and there was a mess. All kinds of different things that you would never imagine. And when people call, they say, "Oh, thank God, we called a few places. You're the only one that's open and ready for same day service." So
same-day service. That's a deep bench,
Yes.
Wow. And then there's probably a premium for that, I would only imagine, for same day.
Of course.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Good. Now, another thing you said kind of on our intro before a podcast, you talked about like really where getting opportunities outside of a home. You did mention all the connections, but you said Airbnbs are amazing. How does one find that opportunity, or how do you find that opportunity?
Yeah. So Airbnb cleaning was something that sort of fell in my lap. We got a call for it and somebody said, "Do you do that?" And I of course, I just said yes, even though I had no idea what they were actually talking about or what that sort of protocol looked like. But the short-term rental market is a massive opportunity because there are so many people that want to make money doing Airbnb, but you have to take a big risk and you have to invest some money. You need a property that you can either rent out to people, or there was a trend of Airbnb arbitrage, meaning like you leased a place and then you made sure that the landlord was okay with you doing Airbnb from it.
Right.
And so those were the two ways, but there are also a lot of work and you're on the hook for a lease. So you can make a lot more money with no risk and no liability with a cleaning Airbnbs, with Airbnb cleaning business. And then you can take advantage of that entire ecosystem that is, growing so fast. And I don't know how many billions or hundreds of billions of dollars that industry is now, but it's become about 65 to 70% of my total revenues.
Wow. Those are great too, because they could turn over more often. So there are more opportunities to clean in that kind of an environment versus once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever might be in a residential situation.
That's exactly right. And nobody lives there. So there's no clutter. People typically come in and out with a suitcase. So when you go in to clean, it's a very easy type of cleaning environment environment. Houses that are difficult are the ones that have been lived in a long time. If they have kids, pets, other things like that, big bookshelves that are dusty, these you go in and you can knock them out relatively easily and quickly. The only thing that you might have to wait around for is laundry. And then, it's like turning a hotel room around for the next guest. We clean them so frequently that even if somebody does stay, we had just been there a couple days before, so it's not that bad. So yeah, the frequency is the main thing. The lifetime value of the customer is much higher than a primary residence client, somebody who actually lives in their own home. And it's for the reason that you said. The best clients are on a bi-weekly or weekly plan. These are 2-3 times a week.
Very good. Very good. Now, you've taken what you've figured out and codified and, trained up your team and started out with so different than so many others who get in there and grind to hope to get into a position where they've got a laptop business, right? But they get in there, grind. You started out from the get-go as I ain't going in there, right? So that's pretty impressive. Now, what was also very impressive in our initial conversation is initially we were talking about your cleaning business, and then we started to talk about the Rags to Riches program and the JonMargalit.com business where you help people do what you do. So tell me about how that works.
Yes, a friend of mine, his wife wanted to start a cleaning business. We spoke many times, and he was asking me what I was doing, and he was intrigued. They live in Arizona, so they're not close to me. And he said, "Do you think that this is something that might be good for Eileen?" And I said, "Anybody can do it. There are really no barriers to entry to this game." I got on a Zoom call with her. I spent about 45 minutes, and the next thing I knew, Eileen had sort of just replicated what I had done, and within 6 months, she was doing quite a bit of revenue every month, and she was doing the same thing. And then when I saw that happen, and I saw her just take direction very seamlessly, and then I realized that, hey, maybe there are a lot of people that want to make 6 figures and don't want to have to rely on having a 9-to-5 type of job. And so ever since I started to advertise or go on social media and talk about how anybody can do this, there was an overwhelming response of people that wanted to learn. And so the next thing I did was sort of open up like an online educational platform, and that's what Rags to Riches University is. It's a little pun there, like rags to riches, because we're cleaning.
I never figured it out until you said that.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, got it.
Yeah, so that's where it was born, and now it's gotten to the place where that business has grown so big that I have thoughts of testing the market to see what the business is worth, especially with private equity buying up so many home service businesses. I don't think I'm going to sell it, but it's something I've pondered because I have very little time for it right now.
Okay. Now, the Rags to Riches, you're kind of bringing it in and branding it around your name, right? Jon Margalit, right?
Yes.
So Jon for John, right? And of course, we'll have all the links that attached here on the video, but JonMargalit.com. And, when I went to check that out, I started watching those testimonial videos, and I went, "Oh, they're actually doing all right. They're like genuine and interested." And do you know how many people have gone through the program?
Oh yeah, there's been over 200 now. Wow. And the success rate, I'll tell you this: for everybody that listens and actually follows the program step by step, there's a high 90%, like let's say over 95% success rate. And when I say success rate, I mean people that are doing at least $10,000 a month or more in revenue.
Wow.
And it adds up pretty quickly. If you think about it, I've got this math equation. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm just going to pull it from memory. It takes 38 regular customers on a bi-weekly plan to make $10,000 a month in profit, not revenue, but profit. And the way I figure that is the average ticket is about $241. That's my average ticket. And it's played out about the same in other markets. And so we're talking about $150 apartment cleans to $800 move-out cleans for a 3,000 square foot house or whatever.
Okay.
And so if you take the $241 and you multiply it by 38, you start to see that it covers all the expenses for advertising and whatever operational expenses there are, because there's so little. You could just run it out of your house like I do. I mean, you really never need an office. And so for that, that was my calculation. At 38 customers on a bi-weekly plan, you can clear $10,000 a month in profit, and 38 customers isn't that much. It's really not.
No, it isn't. And then, how many cleaners would be required for something like that?
Oh, you would need probably somewhere around 8 to 10.
Okay, so that's kind of
you could have 8 full-time and a couple part-time, and you'd be just fine.
Right. And then I saw one of the videos where a lady did like 7,000 in her first month, and she's still working full time, but she's looking to make the change to come in, works full time somewhere else, and looking to come full time into the business. And to be able to pull something like that off in just 1 month is quite remarkable. And when you look at starting so many businesses, it's like you got to dig deep in the pocketbook to be able to start something. You'd said to me, like, for under $1,000, you can be up and running with this.
That's right. Yeah, you can.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was saying there's really no barriers to entry, no big investment. You need a phone and a laptop or a computer. And the woman that you're referencing, remember her very well because we had spent quite a bit of time. She got the coaching program. And the reason why she's successful while maintaining her day job is because the business really is built to work remotely and to see it and manage it from afar, because what she had done very, very smartly was she had me hire and train a virtual assistant for her right from the get-go. And when you're bringing someone into your business that you can have full-time for $500 a month or $600 a month, it's a total game changer. And that person does all the day-to-day operations, all the scheduling, the phone calls, the sales and customer service, everything that needs to be done, the recruiting. She's interviewing the cleaners on the phone for 5 minutes and qualifying them to go out and to do the interviews. The owner of the business is just working on one thing and one thing only, and that's growth.
Yeah, which kind of gets me to kind of looking at that lead gen and how that all works. So you throw ads, I don't know, Google, Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, wherever you might throw it. Now, then they fill out a lead form and then they're called from your call center in St. Lucia? Is that how you work it?
Well, they either call in or they fill out a form that says that they want a request for a quote. Is essentially what you're offering them. And the model is that you have to go all in on Google. And the reason why is because the obvious one, if anybody needs a local pizza place or a plumber, the first thing they do is they go Google it, right? But a lot of people say, what about Yelp? Well, there's an interesting thing that's happening is that if you look at Yelp, they are not activated by voice search, but Google is. So if you do a voice search, which is about 47% of all searches right now, I checked a couple of weeks ago, the number's rising and rising, they won't give you Yelp listings. They'll give you Google listings. So based on that, I went all in on Google, and it's a mix of paid and organic traffic. So a Google business profile is free, and it's an extremely powerful thing to have because it'll show up in the local maps. So if someone does a search like house cleaner near me or best house cleaning service in Los Angeles, it'll show your business to them and where it is on the map, so you appear local, right? And then that does a lot for somebody who's searching. They want somebody that they can trust, and they typically like to go local mom and pop or local franchise. And so I looked at in June, we're in July now, I had over 500 requests for quotes or call in, one of the two, just from my Google business profile last month. And they're free. I didn't pay a dime for them.
That's the best deal ever.
Yes.
Yeah, well done. So then those leads come in, lead form, but then they're calling in. So do you have a 24/7 call center, or do you just during normal work hours kind of thing? Is that how they man it for you?
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time because I'm here. And in St. Lucia, they're on Eastern Standard Time. So at about 10 or 11 at night, the last person will shut down the system. And then it just goes to an AI attendant. And that's what I'm working on right now. The tech company that I was head of sales for was a voice over IP product, and we were very successful. And the guys who founded the company, we had built quite a relationship over the years. And they called me about 6 months ago and they said, we're building AI phone agents, and we would love for you to come join us and take the sales like you did on our last product. And I said, I'm really sorry, I have a cleaning business. And they started laughing. They thought I was kidding with them. And I said, no, really, I have a cleaning business. And they said, but this is a big opportunity. And I said, well, I'm telling you, like this, what I'm doing right now, your mind would be blown if I told you how much money it makes. And they sort of said, well, it's kind of like the boring businesses. They're the ones that like spit out the cash, and these big sexy tech startups like require a bunch of money raised or a bunch of bootstrapping that takes a really long time. And so I said, no, but what we could do is we could test the AI agent on my customers. And so we could learn really fast. And then I said, once that's done, we'll make that an can offer part of Rags to Riches University. So if they don't want to hire a human, we'll be able to offer them an AI agent to do all of the customer service, all of the scheduling, all of the sales. It's remarkable how far we've come and how human-like the AI attendant is right now, and we're we're a ways away from getting it to be live every day, but it's still incredible.
It's actually quite good, and also the latency has gotten very, very small if you get the right platform to be able to build that out with. And sometimes, sometimes I'll deal with guys that have like a very specific sales process, and X, Y, and Z must be done. And every time they train somebody and they eventually kind of listen in, they're like, I don't know what you're doing, but it ain't X, Y, and Z, right? So you can get a good voice AI that does what it's told, so to speak.
Yeah,
and still true to script as close as possible within the variability of the customer's interaction, right? Bring them back to the next step.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we fed the AI 200 phone calls that I took that were successfully closed all the way through the discovery call. And then on top of that, there's a closed loop AI model and an open loop AI model. Are you familiar with this?
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. The closed loop AI model the AI attendant works within a framework that's closed. So only what you've programmed it to say or do, it can do. But the open loop model is an AI agent that's trained to do what you tell it, but it can also go to the internet and find whatever it needs to find to generate answers. It gets a little bit riskier because you don't know what it's going to find and say, and it may not be something that you want it to do. So
especially if you have a pattern of how you want to be delivering and you want to be responsible for what's being communicated, of course you close that for sure.
Exactly.
Good. So when do you think you'll be at a launch phase on this?
I think it's going to be early next year. I want to push it out sooner, but it's for the lack of a better word to put it, it's a little scary because, it's too unpredictable right now. We have to approach it with a little bit of an open loop. Let's put it this way. It's dangerous in terms of brand reputation. You have to be very careful how the customers start to perceive your brand, because I've worked really hard to build up the reputation that we have now that immediately establishes trust. And so, I don't know how it will be received.
Yeah, I think it would, just like anything, should be smartly piloted, not throw it out across the entire company, but smartly piloted. And it's like, does this create the same or better than what I'm doing right now at a cost that makes sense?
Exactly.
Sometimes, AI can be very, very sexy, very, very appealing, but when the dust settles, is it more efficient? Does it save me cost? Does it save me time? And if those things, you can't check those boxes off, no matter how flashy it might look, probably not a good move to make. But it's good that you're being cautious, making sure that it does exactly what you want it to do in the manner that you want it done, right? Now, with the kind of the education model, the Rags to Riches program, right? Where do you want to take that, say, in the next few years?
That's a good question. It's the first time in my life I've ever had a real business that I was passionate about.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling to take people that when you meet them, they don't believe. They don't believe. They don't believe they could do it. Right. And then in a couple of short months, they're calling you and they're saying, I can't believe now it's happening. Or I'm so excited to grow this thing. And not only did you teach me how to build a real business, but you taught me that things that I want to make happen in life, I can if I'm consistent and I put the work in and I don't quit. And when I hear that, it's a different feeling from having some success. It's not just the money, and it's very rewarding. And then you start to build a very, very loyal community of people that all are experiencing this same feeling, and they all want to help each other. So we go online and we have a group. And what I would like to do, to answer your question, is I'd like to have live events where I can pack a hall of 500 to 1,000 people and have breakouts and workshops and make it a weekend. That's really where I'm headed with it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think you're as valuable as you can help people, right? And to help live a better life. And sometimes it's, normally you look at an organization, it's like, it's you, it's your family, it's your staff, it's your staff's family. And that model works if you're building like a monster empire with a whole bunch of staff. But then you go, well, then what's the next level outside of that? People, other connections, and then their business and their family. And it really can broaden out quite a bit. And I've spent 25 years in healthcare coaching, consulting, and very far away from anything in this area. But just looking at what I see is like for working with clients, it's like it's such a big win when you see that they're doing well, and it's a very big win when you hear their family's doing well. And then you find some staff members making really good money, and they never had a job. They were working 7-Eleven before they came over to work for this company, and their whole lives changed. And we got a client that lives down here in Florida in the Clearwater St. Pete area who's got a $30 million business, but he's got a young kid who used to be his receptionist being a CEO. And it's like, gosh, and he's not making receptionist pay, and he's running the show. And you look back and you go, wow, just you give some advice, someone takes it, changes their lives. There's nothing that can give you more pride than that. So honestly, John, I very much enjoyed meeting you the first time. I have been talking like crazy about you. I think what you're doing to help people, particularly in the market we're living in right now, how difficult it is. And it's like what we used to need to survive financially, maybe we were always just our nose above water, and now for many they're drowning. So this could give a whole life-changing attitude and lift them up spiritually and give them the drive to even take on bigger things. So
yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly what it's all about.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast, John. So now why don't you kind of close out with how people can contact your company and find out how they can get help from you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to share.
Yeah,
you can go to johnmargalit.com. It sounds like Margalit. It's Margalit, and my name is just Jon. So it's JonMargalit.com. And then it's pretty self-explanatory from there. You can always shoot me a message, DM me on Instagram. And if you have interest and you want to see and find out more, follow me on YouTube or check out some of my YouTube videos. I get very in-depth, and I have a new Day in the Life series that's going to be launching next week. It's almost like an uncensored backstage pass. So I think that if anyone's curious and you want to see what it's like, tune in.
Very good. And we'll have all those links on the video there for others to be able to access so they can see that. We'll be ready and see what we can do to help you, help others live a better life. Thank you so much, John.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.